which provides for a good growing environment for sugarcane, which is why you have less summons as opposed to other areas. Before one can produce sugarcane, you need to do soil classification to determine whether sugarcane can grow in your farm. As you can see in this picture here, there is soil classification, and then the picture on the right shows a soil pit that has been dug, and this is a Fenwood soil form. And then afterwards, you do soil samples. The reason for that is so that you know what type of fertilizer to apply on that particular field. And then the soil classification also, what it does is it helps you to choose the right variety to put in the particular soil. In this type of soil that we see here as an example, there are certain varieties like your N52, N55, N58, which grow very well in this type of soil because this is a poor type of soil. It has a very low clay percentage. So those type of varieties are more suited for this type of soil. There are other varieties which are available within the industry, which grow in more clayer soils, and also varieties which grow in irrigated conditions only. So it is very important that when you grow sugarcane, you take these factors into consideration so that you have a good crop. Because there's one thing that you can't do in terms of, but in any form of farming, you can't change the soil, but you can try and work around the soil that you have in terms of choosing the right variety that will be able to grow well in that particular soil that you have. As I mentioned of irrigated varieties and non-irrigated varieties, so sugarcane can be produced in dryland areas, or you can irrigate sugarcane. But you need to make sure that when you grow sugarcane in non-irrigated areas, the variety that you put in there should be a variety that doesn't require large amounts of water, which is a non-irrigated variety. Because if you mix the two, you put a non-irrigated variety in an irrigated soil, the variety tends to not perform well because those are not the conditions that it was breeded for. Can you go to the next slide? Then when you do your land prep, as I made mention of dry land and also irrigated land. So on dry land production, you have an opportunity to plant up. The interrow spacing would be 1 meters between the rows, or you can have a 0.9 meters, 0.9 meters that you can have there. Then in irrigated soils or areas, you can have 1.5 meters. Some other guys push it to 1.67, where they make tramline system where it's a double line, but with a row spacing of 1.67. So you do the basic stuff in terms of your land preparation, where you come in with your moldboard plow, you come in with your disc plow, and then you use a ridger to open the furrows or the lines to put in sugarcane. There is also another method of minimum tillage. I do know, I'm sure that there are people here who are aware of minimum tillage. Yes, the sugar industry also has that option of minimum tillage. And with minimum tillage, you just apply glyphosate and then you just reach the lines. So there's minimum disturbance of the soil when you are doing minimum tillage. And mostly minimum tillage is done on steep slopes of not more than 12%. So sugarcane is grown on slope which are below 12%. If it's more than 12%, you stand a chance of erosion and many other issues that you would face there, because on that slope you can't use machinery if it's more than 12%. You have to use manual labor to come in and reach the lines using a hand hoe. That actually takes longer than this takes a longer time to finish land prep. So that's why there is legislation which the sugar industry um, is in line with in terms of that. Then the labor that you put in when you are planting sugarcane, it's between 15 man days to 25 man days per hectare per day. So you'll use 15 people to plant up a hectare per day to 25, depending on the slope and depending on the work that has been done on that particular field. So what they will do is they will plant up either single sets or 1.5 sets or double sets. Single sets are between 6 to 8 tons per hectare, and then 1.5 sets are between 8 to 10 tons per hectare, and then double sets or double sticks are between 10 to 12 tons per hectare. The rate that you'll be using in terms of planting your sugarcane. You need to ensure that you have good quality seed cane that you'll be using, because this particular crop, if well maintained throughout the years, it can last you a minimum of 10 years. Then after 10 years, it's up to you whether you want to plant up a newer variety. But other guys that I've seen, there were varieties which were planted 25 years ago. And when I say that, don't be confused that you just plant and then for 25 years we are not harvesting anything. You do harvest each and every year. If you are on the coastal bed, you harvest every 2 years. If you are in the Midlands, you harvest every year. If you are in the irrigated areas. So that's what I mean. But in terms of replanting, you'll only replant after a certain period. When you are when you are growing sugarcane in the Midlands, you'll have to harvest every 2 years. Meaning, if you have 100 hectares, you can only harvest 50 hectares per year, so that you always have something every year. You can't plant up 100 hectares in 1 year, because that 100 hectares, it means every 2 years you'll be harvesting, and then there will be a year where you have no source of income. So it's better to actually split the two, and then you harvest 50 hectares this year, you harvest 50 hectares the following year, so that you have so that you have income at least each and every year. Then in coastal areas and irrigated areas, it's more flexible. You can plant up everything, and then you can have some carryover as well, which the industry norm and standard is that you need to have about 10 to 15% of your area under cane that you can carry over to the following season and not harvest in the particular season. The biggest advantage of carrying over sugarcane is that you get more growth, which will result in more money coming to you in the following season. And then you also are able to age, in terms of aging your cane, it becomes less prone to certain pests and diseases, because you have planted the varieties which are true to type, and you have already chosen the right variety to be matched with the particular soil that you have there. Can we move on to the next one? Yeah, so for germination to take place, it takes about 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the area that you are in. And then there's something that I forgot to mention on the previous slide. It's fine, we can stay on this one. That's when we are planting, your planting fertilizer is actually put in the furrows when you are planting, and the type of fertilizer that you use should contain more phosphorus, and phosphorus is mostly for root growth and development. So the reason we're doing that is that the first thing that needs to come out of any sugarcane set are the roots, so that they can be able to absorb all the nutrients and then start to germinate, to promote germination. And when germination occurs, then you need to top dress with fertilizer that has more nitrogen and potassium. Nitrogen would actually give the crop the green color, and also for vegetative growth. Then your potassium would actually be required for stem elongation and stem hardening, which will protect it from different pests and diseases that will actually attack that sugarcane of yours that you are having there. Then you have different methods in terms of controlling weeds, where you can spray pre-emergent herbicides and post-emergent herbicides when the cane has grown, or when the weeds have actually emerged from the soil. Then when the cane grows more to probably above knee height, you come in with your hand hoe, and then you try and take out the weeds that are present there, and then your cane would actually grow from there and grow very well. We can move to the next slide. Now, when you look at this picture on the left, that's iron deficiency that one experience. So this slide talks of the challenges that one faces within the sugar industry. So if you haven't done your soil samples properly, or your fertilizer wasn't applied properly, it might have been leached, or you under applied, you find that you have this iron deficiency in your crop, as you can see. And then other external factors that one has in terms of challenges are the cattle that actually feed on sugarcane. This is a huge hindrance in sugarcane growing within the South African context. So it's very important for one, when you have a farm, to try and either fence your farm or have a guard that will protect or try to chase away the cattle from coming into your fields, because they will damage the crop, and then you might end up not having any yield. And we must remember that everything that we are doing, we need to get money at the end of the day. Next slide. So here, that's a picture of myself inside the sugarcane field. So you do your scouting in terms of pests and diseases, and also your cane maturity testing that you do to check whether your cane is matured enough to be harvested, so that you can send it to the mill. So there are many things that you need to do when you go inside the field to try and see how well your sugarcane is growing. Whilst your sugarcane is growing, you get different pests and diseases. And another pest that you find within sugarcane, which is a deterrent, are the snakes. When sugarcane was introduced or was farmed in a commercial manner, the industry was doing green cane harvesting, where you are only harvesting cane without burning. But seeing that there was the snake deterrent or challenge, where the cane cutters would actually be attacked by snakes when they are harvesting the cane, then the industry decided to actually ban sugar cane before you harvest. The main reason for that is that whatever danger that's inside the sugarcane field would actually be minimized, and your workforce can be able to access the field and do whatever it is that they need to do without any harm. Because we all know, in terms of the health and safety rules, is that anyone who goes to work, they need to come back home each and every afternoon safely and healthy, as if they had never gone to work for that particular day. So the industry decided in that fashion to have to ban sugarcane. But currently, there are growers which are still practicing the method of green cane harvesting. Um, the, there are advantages and disadvantages with both methods. In the Midlands, it's not recommended to do green cane harvesting, because as soon as you do green cane harvesting, and then you have a lot of trash being the dead leaves that are remaining on the crop, you find that there would be a trash caterpillar that feeds on your sugarcane. Now you need to buy chemicals or or pesticides to actually control that particular pest. So that is why it's not recommended, because it makes the production cost go high, as opposed to other regions which are more flexible, like your coastal and the irrigated areas, where the trash caterpillar is not much of a hindrance on that one. We can go on to the next slide. So here, the sugarcane has been pushed to prevent, actually, this is the preparation for burning. You push the sugarcane to prevent the runaway fires from moving from one field to another field where the cane might be young, or a field that you had not planned to harvest for that particular day or week or month. So you need to push the cane in preparation for burning, and then you burn your sugar cane. Once you've burnt it, then your cane cutters would actually come in to cut your sugar cane. The standard that they would use is between 3 tons and 6 tons per day that a cane cutter would have to cut per day. The standard drops for green cane harvesting, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So it would actually be 3 to 4 tons for green cane harvesting, and between 3 to 6 tons for cane that has been burnt. The reason that you have these variances is that, as I explained, that there is more work to be done on green cane harvesting, as opposed to the one that has been burnt. The people that actually cut cane have different have different capabilities in terms of cutting. So you need not put too high standards, because some of the guys would actually fall by the wayside and they would not meet their daily targets. So that's why you have the 3, which is the benchmark for everyone, that if you cut below 3 tons, it means there would be a problem in terms of how that cane cutter performs. You do get guys that harvest about 7 tons or 8 tons per day. And those guys are your best performing cane cutters. But there are a few that actually do that. Even the 3 tons are actually a few as well. But you know that you have a certain benchmark that you deal with when you are on that harvesting process. Then there are 2 methods in terms of harvesting. You can either do cut and windrow, which is you cut and you leave the sugar cane in the lines or you cut and stack. Cut and stack, it means you cut the sugarcane and then you form stacks, and then you come with a self-loader or a side loader that will actually load that sugarcane into the trailer, and then it goes to the zone, offloaded in the zone, and then from the zone it gets loaded into the truck, and the truck takes it to the mill. This one that you are seeing here is cut and windrow. So you leave it, you cut, and then you leave it on the ground, and then a bell loader or a loader would actually come in with a grabber and pick this up and load it onto a trailer. The trailer will take it either to the zone, or it goes to the tramline system for those that are using tramline systems, and then it goes to the mill straight away. What one needs to be wary of when doing harvesting is that you do not leave stumps. When you leave stumps on sugarcane, you need to do base cutting. So if you leave stumps on your sugarcane, it means that there's a major pest which has caused major damage within the sugar industry, which is Eldana. The Eldana is a borer that goes into the sugarcane, and it likes the lower parts of sugarcane where there's most sugar. So if you leave the stumps, the Eldana borer will get into the sugarcane and then destroy the subsequent ratoons that would actually grow from there. What I mean by a ratoon is that it's any growth that would it's any sugarcane that will grow after you've harvested the sugarcane. So if you've harvested sugarcane once, the ratoon, the cane that grows from there would be your first ratoon, and then if you harvest that one and then the second one comes up, and then will be your second, third, up until you reach maybe the 10th or the 11th ratoon. It's up to you at that time when you are looking at the yield that you are getting in terms of whether it's making sense in rent. It's making sense in terms of rents and cents. So it's very important that you don't leave the stumps. Also, when you cut your sugarcane, you need to top at the right topping height. You don't top too high, because when you top too high, it means you'll be sending in sugarcane which will be full of cane tops. That will actually decrease the RV, which is your recoverable value of sugar that you'll get in the mill. And the top part of your sugarcane doesn't have sufficient sugar, so it will actually be making a loss if you send that one. So it's better to top a bit lower, just below the growing point of your sugarcane. That's where you actually make sugar. The sugar industry over the years, because they've seen that that's actually a negative in terms of getting sufficient sugar. So there are certain ripeners that are being used within the industry. At first, it was ethaphone and fusilate that were used within the industry. Then there were other ripeners that are available in the industry. Recently, there has been Modus, which is used in the sugar industry to try and ripen the sugarcane so that the sugar content can be increased. What ethaphone does, some of you would know ethaphone as ethyl, which is also used in banana ripening. So that's the one in the same thing that's used within the sugar industry. What it does is it increases the sugar content, but you need to harvest your sugar cane between 8 to 12 weeks. Some guys push it to 14 weeks before you need to harvest your cane between 8 to 12 weeks, or even 14 weeks. You can push it to that. If you don't do that, you harvest your sugar cane maybe at 16 or 17 months, then your sugar cane start to side shoot, and then that one, when it starts to side shoot, then you lose the sugar, because now the sugar cane, what it does at that particular point in time, it's now using the sugar to produce new shoots. Same thing happens with fusilade. The fusilade, the worst thing that it does is it kills your growing point. So with it, you need about between 4 to 6 weeks when you are using fusilade, and then after 6 weeks, like on the 6th week, you can harvest that field and send your sugarcane to the mill. With modders, it's a bit different from the other two that I've mentioned. Yeah, what we've seen as an industry is that the sugarcane, when it prevents flowering, when you've applied modders, and you can carry over that sugarcane to the following season, because with flowering, it's not a bad thing to have flowering on your sugarcane. When your sugarcane actually flowers, it's actually self-ripening, but you need to harvest that sugarcane before end of October of each and every season. If you harvest that sugarcane in November or December, then you find that there is that pithiness inside the sugarcane. Those that know isiZulu kuthiwa umongo. When you have that pithiness, you lose sugar within the sugarcane crop. And when you leave a flowered cane for longer periods, what that does to your sugarcane is, when flowers have been formed, the sugarcane in itself says, I've actually ran my race. Now I need to give the next generation an opportunity to live. So in actual fact, the sugarcane crop is actually killing itself. So as soon as it does that, then you start to lose, and you leave it for a longer period, you start to lose sugar that's within that crop, and then you end up losing money. But the pollen that the sugarcane produces in the South African industry is not viable pollen that one can use as seed so that you can propagate for all those things. But there are other methods that the industry uses to have, if they want to breed sugarcane, they would use a greenhouse so that the reason that the pollen is not viable is that our conditions are not hot enough to make the pollen viable, so that you can use the seed to propagate sugarcane. That's why we use seeds. But I don't want to say in the lab, but in the greenhouse where they produce different varieties, they actually control the temperature in terms of having it hot, and then there would be that water which they would use in terms of irrigating. And when they are propagating sugarcane or making that pollen to mate with the other one, they would actually shake the pollen early in the morning, so that it's easier for it to mate. I don't want to get into details as to why that is done in the morning and not during the day or in the afternoon or in the evening. But I think we would all know biologically what happens in the morning when everyone wakes up. So it's the similar system that the plant breeders are actually doing in terms of that. The pollen would actually be more viable during the morning. So when your sugarcane goes into the mill, as we can see in this picture, there would be trucks that would form lines so that they get into the mill, and then the cane gets crushed to produce sugar. The first type of sugar that's produced would be brown sugar. And then there are further processes that occur within the milling process to make it white, whereby you also put in some lime to change the color from brown to white. That's how the white sugar is actually made. And that's why I explained the brown sugar. That's the first type of sugar that you get. There is a myth that some people have that if you don't burn your sugar cane, you get white sugar. If you burn your sugar cane, you get brown sugar. No. When the sugar cane gets to the mill, you get brown sugar. That's the first type of sugar that you get out of there. Then the white sugar has to undergo a further processing that will actually give it the white color. Then there would be that sale of sugar, which is administered by the South African Sugar Association, where the industry, what it does is it sells the sugar before it can be produced, meaning the sugar industry would actually go to the customers like your Coke and many other sugar users within the country and outside the country and say the industry would actually have so many tons of sugar for this season. How many tons can you take? And then each and every buyer would say, oh, I need so much, I need so much. Then the price is set based on what the industry aims to sell and what these buyers would actually take out from there. Also, before you harvest your sugar cane for the season, you need to do cane estimates. The cane estimates would actually tell you how many tons of sugar cane you would harvest for that particular season. And then as soon as you do that, you inform the mill. Then the mill would actually give you an allocation to say, if you have 10,000 tons of sugarcane that you can harvest for the season, and the sugar industry has about 40 weeks to harvest the sugarcane, then they say 10,000 tons divided by 40 weeks, then they give you an allocation to say, per week, you can have X amount of tons that you need to send to the mill. Then from there, you divide by 6 so that you know that on a daily basis, you need to send so many tons to the mill. So that's how everything gets to be structured. You don't harvest all your 10,000 hectares, your 10,000 tons in 1 week or in 1 month or over 3 months. You deliver your cane ratably, meaning if the mill opens from April to December, you need to harvest your sugar cane from April to December. You shouldn't have months where you are not delivering because it works on an allocation basis. And the allocation basis works in a manner that you use it or lose it. Meaning, if you don't take that slot, you lose that slot. You can't say you are carrying it over. If you're not delivering this month, you will get it the following season. The following month. It doesn't work like that. If you lose a week, it means you've lost a week's income and a week's time of harvesting and all those other things. There are exceptions when if the mill breaks down or you find that there will be unrest and you can't get your cane out of the farm, or you have bigger areas that have been burnt and now you are unable to send your cane into the mill in time and all those many other challenges that one can face, then the miller at that point in time, they look at your unique situation, then they work around that. By so doing, they speak to your neighbors and make them stop harvesting for that particular point in time. When you finish your cane or you finish that burnt cane, then you give back the allocation to those guys that actually stopped because they were giving you a chance to send in your cane to the mill. Because what also happens is if your cane stays a longer period in your farm, either not harvested or harvested but not sent to the mill, it actually deteriorates and loses value. So you might end up, when you probably at that time when it gets burnt, you will be having maybe RVs of about 12.5%, and then you wait for about 3 or 4 weeks, and then you send it to the mill. By that time, you might find that you are having RVs of about 6 or 5 or 4, depending on the conditions. If it becomes very hot, your cane deteriorates, the RV recoverable value deteriorates quicker as opposed to when it's very hot. Sorry, it's very cold, like in your winter period. If it rains as well, and then you get sunshine maybe 2 or 3 days later, then your cane starts to rot. And when it starts to rot, it means the sugar starts to ferment. It means your sucrose now moves into your glucose to galactose and so many other alcohols that get formed. And when you get to that sugar cane, you can even you can smell the smell of alcohol, and then because the sugar cane is actually fermenting at a particular point in time. Yeah.
Right.
I think from my side, I will end there, and then I will take questions if there are any. I will try my level best to answer all of them. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you so much. That was very informative. Thank you. I would like to then open the room for questions. If we have questions for Patrick or comments. Vusi? Your mic is okay. Yes, Vusi.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Mr. Ngcobo. I saw the face. I don't know if I was dreaming, but I think I've seen Mr. Ngcobo at Pongola. It's another one. But he's going to answer probably that question first. But I think I've seen that face before. Just besides that, my two questions. The first one is regarding the impact that the macadamia introduction has on the sugar industry. I know around 2016 or 17, a number of farmers around KZN were actually introducing, sugarcane farmers were actually introducing macadamia nuts, claiming that they were actually more productive financially when they compare them to sugarcane. So it was a process that when I left, they were just initiating around in Bangin, for instance. I think I know 2 or 3 farmers who were planting those trees. So I wanted to find out from Patrick, what impact does that have? And if they are feeling the heat, what is the sugar industry doing with that issue? I mean, is the industry willing to actually extend its wing to also accommodate this macadamia nuts, which I will think it's a new thing to some sugar farmers? That's number one. Then the next one is about the pricing. I don't know, probably some people will also agree with me. When you look at how massive, I know some countries are doing even much better than us on a production scale in terms of the sugarcane that we produce. But when we go to shops to actually buy sugar, it's still expensive. Why? There is something that is either wrong somewhere if I look at how massive our scale is in relation to the sugar price. Or is it because the processing part, it's too expensive? I always feel like we are being cheated somewhere, somehow. But yeah, those are the two main questions that I had. Guys, thank you very much for the mouthful presentation.
Patrick, I think you can respond, I think.
Okay. So I don't know, Chair. The person would actually ask questions and then I would respond, or we'll take questions and then I'll respond to each and every person. I don't know which way, because I'm happy to do either or.
Oh, okay. At the moment, I'm only seeing Vusi's hand. So
Okay.
yeah, maybe we can respond and yeah.
Okay, no problem, Chair. Thanks, Vusi, for the questions and also for remembering me. Yes, I've been to Opongolo. In actual fact, there's no area where sugarcane is produced where I haven't been. Yeah, I've based on my age, I've actually traveled, I think, more than how old I am. Yeah, so I've been around the industry. And I've been to areas like Pongola, I've been to Malelane, Komati, and the whole of KZN. Yeah. Then coming to your question in terms of impact of macadamia within the sugar industry. I would say for every threat, there is an opportunity. In terms of the money factor, the macadamia, in actual fact, actually pays more than what the sugarcane would actually give per, whether it's per hectare or per farm or whatnot. And the margins are actually too high as compared to sugarcane. Yes, you would find that there would be an exodus of farmers that would go into macadamia and leave out sugarcane, or you would find that farmers are now diversifying, having macadamias on their farm and other crops. The crops that I've seen that are dominating within the sugar industry, if a sugarcane farmer doesn't have sugarcane only, they would either have macadamia, bananas, or they would have livestock. So those are some of the things which are dominant within the sugar industry. The reason I'm saying for every threat, there would be an opportunity. Yes, in terms of the threat would be the land or area would actually decrease. But the opportunity is, if that happens, there is an opportunity for supply and demand. If the land or area decreases, it means there will be less sugarcane produced locally, and then it makes the supply and demand factor, meaning we'd actually be producing less sugar as a country, meaning we can only give out so much. When we give less, it means, and there are more buyers, it means as an industry would actually push the price based on supply and demand. If there's more demand and the supply is low, we know in terms of economics that you push the price so that you are able to get to satisfy all the customers that actually need that particular product. And in so doing is that you don't want to have disappointed customers, in such that if you sell at a lower price and everyone comes in and then they finish whatever product that you have, and when the other ones come in and then you say, sorry, everything is finished, then you create disappointed customers. But the sugar industry, what it does is, if that scenario happens, we are able to import sugar from neighboring countries like your Swaziland, your Mozambique, your Zambia, even Zimbabwe as well, because that's where sugarcane is grown as well. We import it from those guys, and then we are able to supply sufficient sugar to the relevant markets. On the one that you spoke of in terms of pricing, that's our sugar. Sugar is actually expensive. There are a number of reasons that actually cause that. Some are political, and some are production-based. They are on the production-based side. There are high input costs that the sugarcane farmers incur. Like if I would make an example, in 2020, not even 2020, last year, beginning of the year, which is 2021, the fertilizer price, the expensive fertilizer was 450 rand. Now, if you go and buy one bag of fertilizer, it's in the region of 1,100 and 1,250. So that's one bag. I'm not talking about a ton or whatnot. That's 50 kgs. So you see that actually kills or disturbs the cash flow of the farmers. Yes, the RV price might be good in terms of what the farmers are getting, but the input cost makes the RV price not to be good, because most of the money goes to the input cost that are getting being higher, and also your herbicides as well have gone up as well. Those are some of the things that actually make the sugar price to go up. Also, when you look at the political side, because I need to explain this, and I'm not saying this maybe because I'm bashing government or whatnot. No, there is minimal subsidies that the sugar industry gets from government in South Africa, as opposed to other countries like Brazil. In Brazil, there are many subsidies that the sugarcane farmers in Brazil get, as opposed to us, which is why you find that the imports that are coming from Brazil are actually way cheaper than what we have locally, because they are being subsidized. Also, what Brazil does is their main production of sugarcane is they are producing to make ethanol.